Hi, this is Aimee.
And Melissa. We are a couple of retired Texas teachers who are CALTs, certified academic language therapists. We've started our own businesses, and now we have a podcast called
The Dyslexia Duo. Join us for our inaugural podcast where we will delve into dyslexia from the unique perspective of a parent. We'll guide you through everything you need to know, from the first signs to the intricacies of dyslexia curriculum placement.
This season, we will cover the referral process, how the Texas process has changed, what to expect when your child is dyslexic, and how to support them.
Come join us, starting now. Okay, hi there. Welcome. This is Aimee and
Melissa.
And we're the Dyslexia Duo.
I am Melissa, and I am a CALT, which is a certified academic language therapist. I'm also a certified classroom teacher for early childhood through fourth grade. I'm certified in the state of Texas only. Okay, so I have been teaching dyslexic kids since September 2010. So I started my training at SMU back in 2011, and I did a summer training. And then with the training, you go all throughout a whole entire year. After you do your 2 weeks in the summer, you do 1 month for the whole school year afterwards. And I completed that training in 2012. After that point, I worked as a practitioner until 2017. And once I finished my practitioner level, I went back to SMU to finish my training there to become a CALT. And that is when I met Aimee.
Yay. Well, okay. This is Aimee, and I am a CALT, a certified academic language therapist, and a QI, which means I'm a qualified instructor. So kind of my story, I'm a little bit older than Melissa. I started in education in 1991 as an education major with a reading minor. And in 92, I received training in MTA as a dyslexia teacher. I did that for about 13 years before I decided I wanted to pursue my CALT certification through LEAD. Received my CALT certification in 2006. And some years later, I decided I wanted to become a QI. So I went through and became a QI, received my certification at SMU, and now I retired in 2021. I work with students with dyslexia. I train teachers in a dyslexia curricula. I train teachers to practitioner or therapist or even qualified instructor level at this point.
I think it's interesting, Aimee, that you and I were both practitioners for some time before we got our therapy training. So we have that in common.
Yeah, for sure. It took a long time for me to make that leap.
Yeah. And it's interesting that we both did it through SMU.
Yeah.
Like the parallels are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to have met you there.
Yeah, same. Likewise, though. I think I was stressed out the whole time.
It's a stressful thing. Well, you were going through your QI while I was doing my CALT.
Yeah.
And you were teaching us stuff.
I was trying. I don't know how well I taught anybody anything, but I was definitely trying.
I think I got a good lesson.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what our own businesses are. Melissa, why don't you talk about your Kids First services?
Okay, so I went out on my own in May of 2021, right after COVID, for many reasons. One of the reasons being I had some health concerns that were preventing me from being out and doing the heavy lifting of a school district job. And I decided it was time for that reason and other reasons too, that it was time for me to go out and do my own thing. I knew I loved helping the kids, and I knew that if I would take the leap of faith and do this, I did not know if it was going to be successful, but I knew that if I had my heart in the right place and I was doing something to help the kids, that even if it wasn't successful at first, at least I still was helping the kids that I wanted to help. So I started Kids First Dyslexia Services back in May of 2021. And it was a wonderful first summer session that I had there. I was pretty busy. And then all the kids went back to school. And it was like, oh, I don't have any customers now. But I worked with a marketing woman, and she helped me kind of get my name out there a little bit more. And I had some great students from my school who still stayed with me, and we just started getting the word of mouth out there, and it really started growing. And now it's doing really, really well. I've got myself and 2 part-time people who are working with me, and we're located near the Keller, South Lake, Colleyville area. So we help a lot of wonderful families out there. So if you're interested, you could look us up.
Awesome. I'll talk about my business a little bit. My business is Discover Read. Yes, DYS, Discover Read, READ, Dyslexia Services. I offer a variety of services because our motto is covering all your dyslexia needs. And the little illustration is a turtle, right? So because the shell covers the turtle and protects them. We provide virtual and in-person therapy for students identified with dyslexia, or even just reading services that maybe students might need. We have a couple of people, dyslexia therapists who work for us, who are trained across multiple curricula, because we know, not every child responds the same way to a dyslexia curricula. So we tried to find the one that fits for them. I also provide training on-site or in the district or virtually in multiple dyslexia curricula, whether it be a teacher level training to a practitioner level or therapist level training as well. And we also do dyslexia assessments, and we do some advocacy as needed. We are located in Prosper, but, we are definitely people who like to travel. So especially if it was Hawaii, we'd definitely show up there and go there.
Okay. So what motivates you, Aimee, to do this?
Well, I have a couple of different things. One, because I've done dyslexia longer than I've even had children, than my marriage.
Wow.
You think about it, it's longer than I've been married. So I know a lot about dyslexia. And I have parents, I have teachers that want to ask questions, and I don't always have that kind of time to give them the thoughtful responses, that I'd like to. So I thought, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if there was some sort of recording podcast that, people could access as they needed to. So that was one. And I think what I wanted to do when I kind of put the feelers out there for this, people are saying, don't just make it be one person. It should be 2 people who kind of have the same background. And I thought, yeah, that's true, because it's kind of boring listening to one person drone on and on. So we definitely listened to the feedback. Melissa chimed in, said, I thought about doing that too. And I thought, yes, that works out well. And so I think this is, when you think about the elevator pitch, if you were to pitch this podcast to somebody, we're definitely people you can trust. We're not going to try to sell you the snake oil. We're not going to sell you anything that's a fast service. We're going to steer you in the right direction as to what dyslexia is, what you can do to help support your child. We're going to bring in some experts. We're going to bring in some curriculum authors, all kinds of things in store. So, Melissa, what motivated you when you saw my stinking post and you go, hey, yeah, I think I want to join that crazy train? What made you think to do that?
First of all, what made me want to do what I do is to make a difference in the lives of children. Mm-hmm. That is the thing that drives me every day to work, is to help those kids. So when you had mentioned about the podcast, I thought, what a great way to help kids still. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm not sitting in front of them, I'm hoping to reach people across the state, people across the nation, maybe people globally, where some way, somehow, we are imparting wisdom upon people or giving them resources that will help them get the help that they need for their child. So if I'm helping one extra student, I feel like I have some success.
Yeah, we want to dispel any misinformation that may be out there in any way that we can help support and inform your decisions.
Absolutely.
As a teacher and as a parent, all the tick boxes for that.
Absolutely.
So, Melissa, when you decided you wanted to go through training and wanted to become a therapist, what motivated you to go from that teacher level of training to therapy level of training?
Okay, so what motivated me was that I had gone maybe 7 years as a practitioner, and I had decided to move school districts. And when I moved school districts, the school district to which I moved wanted all therapists for their district, which is a wonderful, wonderful goal. So when I moved to that district, I had to go about getting my therapy certification. So I actually had to sign a contract and everything that I was going to go back and finish. I had 2 years to do it.
Did you have to pay out of pocket?
I did.
Ew.
And that's okay. It was worth it. In the long run, nobody could take that from me. It's always there. That's the part about education. But I decided at that point that I wanted to work in that district so badly. And I was at a good point financially with my family that we could afford sending me back to school. And my son was in a good point in his life that he was about 17 at the time. So even though he still needed me, he didn't need me as much as he did when he was in elementary school and I was helping him turn in homework every single night. And all of those things. So that's what motivated me to get to the point where I could go into my therapy level training. And I fell in love with the fact that as a practitioner, you know a lot of stuff. Yeah. And as you teach, you learn a lot of stuff. But at the therapy level, as a therapist, you start to do the summation of everything. You start to see, oh, this is exactly why I have to do it this way, or this is why I have to say this and the child has to say that. You understand a more broad picture of the situation.
No, I totally agree with that. That's one of the things I tell my trainees when they're training to practitioner or therapist. I had seen somebody post on one of the social media groups that she didn't see much difference between her teacher training and her therapy training. And I thought, what a shame. Because there really is quite a night and day difference. I can say at the teacher level what I'm expected to say, but at the therapist, or even if I was a practitioner to therapist level, I have a deeper understanding as to why I'm saying it. And that's why I went through my therapy. I could say what I needed to say, but it provided that background understanding. And additionally, I understood how to differentiate and scaffold within that therapy session that I didn't have that understanding before.
Right. Because you have to kind of flip on a dime.
Oh, all the time.
When
I can't
you're
tell you
instructing.
what my lesson plans look like. Lots of arrows and scratch outs and do this instead. And
yes.
All of that.
And when you're helping a kid decode, sometimes you just have to change course right then and there. You just have to show them a different way instantly because they don't understand the way you were originally trying to show them.
And coming with a lot of experience and meeting with those greats at LEAD and at SMU that had all that experience and could say, when this happens, try this. When this happens, try this. And all the research that we had to go through that led to all this evidence-based instruction,
right?
Is huge.
Absolutely. I learned a lot from them, and I'm looking forward to learning from you too.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We've been promoting this for a few weeks now, and I know I've got a lot of friends, a lot of CALT friends, a lot of parent friends that are excited about this. One of the reasons I personally wanted to do this podcast was to give information that can be trusted to other teachers, to other therapists, to other parents. I also wanted to provide additional information about curricula, about laws and legislation. I want to pull in generations of dyslexics, because we know that dyslexia is genetic. And I have a few people that I know where it's multi-generational, that it impacts them. And how has it impacted them? So I just want it to be information that can be trusted. What about you, Melissa?
I agree with you. And I also want to help parents and educators increase their awareness. And I want to answer frequently asked questions. You had talked earlier about how people will send you emails, ask you questions. I am on Facebook, a lot of groups of people that are looking for help for dyslexia, either teachers, dyslexia teachers looking for answers to questions, or parents looking for answers to questions. So I'm hoping that we can address some of those questions on here, and then it's always there and people can reference that. And then I want to give helpful tips to all the people that might be needing the tips. I also want to reach any of those teachers, dyslexia teachers, that are on the fence about whether or not they want to go on through to get their CALT certification, or people who are regular classroom teachers who might want to venture out and decide that they want to go and help kids with dyslexia. It's so rewarding. And there might be people that are kind of pondering. So I hope that maybe this will help them.
So let me ask you, why do you continue to do what you do? Like, why did you go from the teacher level to the therapist level? What keeps you there?
Well, what got me there in the first place was the fact that I wanted to help kids learn how to read. Mm-hmm. And when I went to college to be a teacher, I was taught how to help kids learn how to read in a classroom.
Right.
But I wasn't really taught how to help kids learn how to read when they had a disability. Mm-hmm. It wasn't talked about. My passion has always been helping the kids that need help. And the kids who needed the most help, in my opinion, to learn how to read were the dyslexic kids. And I didn't know that until I met them and I started working with them. Mm-hmm. So when I started working with them and I started seeing their progress, that was my light bulb moment that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. This is my purpose in life, in addition to being a mom and a wife and a good daughter. This is also my purpose. And I feel like what is pushing me to continue on is the fact that I've got a lot of kids still to help. There's so many kids out there that need help, and parents are telling me that there's a lot of need.
So when I went to college, I can remember asking a professor, what happens if I get a job as a second grade teacher and I have a student who can't read or word? I didn't know that you unblended it. I didn't know any of that. I was never taught that way.
Right.
And she goes, oh, you pull out the flashcards, you do the big books, you do the repetitive reading, you do the across the curriculum, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I go, well, no. What if I have a student who looks at the word dog and can't read the word dog? How do I help them? And she just basically said it slower and louder for me, what she said before. And I said, no, what if he can't read the word? What do I do for him? How do I help them read that word? And she goes, you read the teacher's manual. And I go, oh. So she's telling me, shut up, because we're not going to talk about that, basically. So I graduated from a major university with a degree in education from grades 1 through 8 with a minor in reading, not knowing how to teach somebody how to read. And my first teaching gig was with 4th, 6th, and 8th grade language arts. And I had a few students that I would listen to them stumble through the text. And I thought, okay, so I provided different levels of text for them to practice to read from, and they weren't reading any better. And I was like, well, gosh, I gave them what I perceived to be an easier text. How can I help them? And I still think about those students to this day, because I'm pretty sure they're dyslexic, knowing what I know now, and that's what drove me to get the training. What drove me to become a therapist was wanting that, why I say it, what's the foundation, what's the evidence behind it? What do I say to the naysayers that are out there? That's why I do what I do now. That's why I continue. And that's why I got my QI. And I want to continue to learn and develop and grow. I want to be that person that can come up effortlessly with what people need to know. I want to have that expansive knowledge.
Yeah. And you're really good at sharing your knowledge.
Oversharing?
I wouldn't say oversharing. Well, I'm really impressed that I get to work with you and in this capacity and learn from you. So I'm really excited.
Well, thank you.
That.
I'm very excited about this partnership too.
Yeah. Okay. So we know what the purpose of the podcast is, but we are going to be sharing with you what is dyslexia from the actual definition.
Yep.
So the definition comes from the International Dyslexia Association. So dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurobiological in origin. It is characterized by difficulties with accurate and or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. These difficulties typically result from a deficit in the phonological component of language that is often unexpected in relation to other cognitive abilities and the provision of effective classroom instruction. Secondary consequences may include problems in reading comprehension and reduced reading experience that can impede growth of vocabulary and background knowledge.
So you want to break that down?
Yes, we are going to break that down for the next episode.
All right, let's do that.
So
then.
tune in so you can hear more.
This is the Dyslexia Duo, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.